The previous basket is under review.
Scout team inching towards the season, just a couple weeks away. Fawcett, Sweeney, back at it, going through some of the best high school players in the class of 2025, joining college hoops this season, guys that you may have heard a lot about, guys that you may have even seen some clips of, but film's hard to find, especially if they didn't play, UIBL Scholastic, some of these high-level games that are on ESPN Plus and league ready into the big platforms where these things can get aired. It's hard to find them. So maybe if you're a fan of the team, I can hand up, say I've done this once or twice, dove into the clips, tried to watch the film as much as I could of a kid we're excited to land. But I think if you're a national college hoops fan, you haven't watched Matt Abel play, I don't blame you, but we're ready to give you a breakdown. We got 5 guys on the docket today, Fawcett. Darius Acuff, Isiah Harwell, Braylon Mullins, Nik Khamenia, and Matt Abel. So a good kind of cross-section of guys, mostly guards. I do think in general, and this is probably good, would probably hold true most years, there's more guards that are ready to play in college basketball as freshmen than bigs. It's a much higher bar. I'd also say this. To be on the floor for significant minutes as a freshman in college basketball now, you have to be really, really good. And I wonder, we talked last week in the intro about the LeBaron Philons and the Tahad Pettifords and guys like that who made last year's freshman class really good, in addition to the one and done super freshmen, right? And I think part of it is like these classes are going to feel really good because any of them that are good enough to play, like there's gonna be fewer busts because quite frankly, it's not a bust, just don't get on the floor, right? Like if you're not good, you're not playing. And I think all these guys, for the most part, I think you have some concerns about Kinemena. I'm more intrigued by him, I think, than you are at the moment. But I think all of these guys are not necessarily guaranteed one and dones, but guys who are good enough to play significant roles as freshmen. And impact winning on high level teams. All these teams we're talking about here are potential top 20 teams, maybe even higher with some of them. Obviously, Houston and UConn, picked in the top of the sport. So, I don't know if you have any further thoughts on the class and how hard it is for freshmen to get on the floor these days, Fawcett. But I do think these guys can be the exception to the rule.
I just think it's interesting that you talk about the fact that a lot of these guys are guards that we're talking about, and a lot of the guys that that last year ended up being a lot better than a lot of people expected were guards that were largely just didn't have like great physical tools, maybe didn't jump off the page for that reason. And because there is so many guards, I think it's just a lot easier for guys to get lost in the shuffle. And I'm thinking about these guys that evaluate these guys, and there's 70 guards in the top 100 or guard-ish players. Like, yeah, it's pretty tough to differentiate yourself at times, but once these guys get to college, that's where you really start to separate the men from the boys. And I think that a couple of these guys would be good picks, and it was a good exercise for me to take some time watching some guys a little more that I hadn't seen as much. And I think I'm ready for another year of there being some of these guys in the 30 to 75 range that really have their impact on the sport in a way that 30 to 75 didn't a couple of years back. And as much as and I'm guilty of this, get really excited for transfer portal left transfers, guys coming in from Europe. There's always going to be guys coming from high school that remind you that this is going to be an important way to continue to get talent onto a roster. And 5 guys I'm really excited to talk about today.
Yeah, so we're going to start with Darius Acuff, who is, by all accounts, but by every standard, a blue chip recruit, top 10 in pretty much everything. Has been on the radar for quite some time. Calipari wanted it badly at Kentucky. That's a year and a half before before Arkansas, right? He was all over him. I remember watching Cal be there to watch Darius Acuff while he was at while he was in Kentucky gear, right? Like that's someone he's known about for a long time. I think his stock has probably dropped a little in the eyes of NBA folks, partially because he's a little smaller. I do think there's a good chance he's still a first-round pick, but I do wonder if there's a world, and maybe it started with guys like Philon and Pettiford last year, but just in the way that, the back to the basket big became this like underrated recruiting avenue for college basketball because those guys don't fit as nicely into the NBA box. I start to wonder if like the smaller scoring point guard becomes sort of the same thing, right? Especially if some of these smaller guys like a Rob Dillingham who did go one and done, if they continue to struggle, Jeremiah Fears could be an example of this. Like if these guys, those type guys continue to struggle, does the NBA's value on those guys drop enough where a Darius Acuff becomes a multi-year college player? Because I know Sam Vecini talked a lot about this in this draft season. Like the number of small guards in the NBA who are having high level success is very limited, and in almost all cases, they have to be like the best or the second best player on the team. You have to build your team around them, and so I think it's hard to do that. And so maybe a Darius Acuff's a guy who's sneaky a multi-year college player, but I feel very confident that Darius Acuff is going to be a big-time bucket getter in college basketball, and he's going to a coaching system who's had guys like him before, had a lot of success with them. The pro ceiling is really the question mark, but a huge talent injection into the Arkansas backcourt.
Yeah, massive. And I mean, I wonder if this was 2012 or something, if this is the type of guy that actually does get ranked in the top 3 and above some of the more upsidey prospect wings that are ranked ahead of him. But watching him play, man, he plays a city guards game. He's physical. Like you said, he's undersized, but he plays like a bulldog. And you see that while he's got a lot of skill and he's got a lot of flash as well, like he's fearless getting to the rim. He's taking contact, bouncing off guys and scoring. Really love to see that. I don't think he is elite shooter, but he's good enough. Like he makes the open ones. If guys really sit underneath him, he's able to pull up from good range. Bit of a slower release, but good range on it for a smaller player. But really, much of what makes him special is his ability to just get to the rim at will and score over bigger players. And you just like don't see that as much as guys continue to stretch out their perimeter game more and more. I do see a lot of these smaller guards just really struggle to finish at the rim, and that's a big reason why they don't make that next step particularly well. But for him, I think that it's something that he is absolutely tremendous getting to the rim and finishing. And I also think if you're going to be a small guard, you better be a really good defender. And I do think he is a really, really good defender. He's got a little bit of that quickness of a smaller guard, but like I mentioned as well, incredibly physical and strong. And you don't see him getting like bullied by bigger guards. He wins that first dribble. He stays in his stance, absorbs contact, and looks really good on that end as well. So in addition to just straight up talent, I also think like the level of polish on both ends from him, really, really good. Really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, that to me is the biggest difference between him and Dillingham, who he's gotten compared to a lot just because, they both go to play for Calipari. They're both these smaller guards. I think he is so much more physically mature, so much more polished than Dillingham was. Dillingham had a little bit more kind of wiggle and, twitchiness, a little bit more shifty a ball handler, I think, than Acuff. But I think Darius Acuff is probably a more complete player than Rob Dillingham right now, and probably an easier guy to build a winning team around. And I think that's really exciting. And again, it helps that he's going to a situation at Arkansas where they need him to be good, but they have DJ Wagner. They have proven older guys. Arkansas has the most roster continuity in the SEC this year, which you would have never pondered a Calipari team at Kentucky having, right? So he gets into a ready-made situation where they have good talent around him, old transfer bigs who can carve out a lot of space, and then just say, hey, Darius, like, we just need buckets, man. And I think he's pretty well equipped to do just that.
Yeah, I think like you said, kind of biggest thing, this could be a multi-year guy. And I think if you're already doing your way too early 2026, 2027 player rankings, this is a guy that you would think like, wow, like you think he's probably going to be back. And if he's back, wow. And I think also who are the guys that are most still sought after in college basketball? It's like, yeah, everyone loves the kind of one and done shot making wing type, but who are the guys that seem to really dominate? It's the point guards or the kind of combo-y guard shot makers, like think about Walter Clayton last year. Like these guys still absolutely get it done at the college level. And Acuff, yeah, the more I watch, the more I love for sure.
And look, I still think there's a very good chance that at the end of the day, Darius Acuff is just too good for college basketball and it's one and done. But the path is a lot more narrow for guys in his archetype. We saw it last year with Boogie Flan. Boogie Flan had a good freshman year, obviously had the injuries. All of a sudden, like you're looking up, it's like is he even going to get picked if he goes in the draft? Probably be late second and has to come back. I think, it'll be easier for Acuff, but I don't think it'll be as easy as maybe some people realize. Braylon Mullins is an elite shooter. He's off to UConn, picked a really good system for him, given what they've done in the past with their shooters. The guy that I think some people will kind of naturally gravitate to as a comparison is Kinemena, just because he's someone that just torched everybody in AAU in high school and then showed up to UConn and showed up to college and kind of did the same thing. And so actually big wings who shoot the cover off the ball are probably top 10 picks. I think there's a very real world where Braylon Mullins does the same type of thing. They're not the same player. I think Khan is probably a little bit more well-rounded, but a really fun player to watch, going to a system that does incredible things for shooters who can shoot off the move, shoot off, run off screens and shoot on the move and things like that.
This is my favorite positional kind of scheme fit of anyone we've talked about, because it is so hard to find high school players that have the opportunity to run off screens. Like, so many of these offenses, the high school and AU level, it's so pick and roll dominant, guys who play a lot in transition. There's very little opportunity for guys to get opportunities to come fly off screens, read screens, find space as a shooter, and pull up with a quick trigger, get that footwork down, get that hand placement down. And they like UConn, who runs the most off-ball screens of anyone in the country, pretty much, at least the high major level. They went and found the guy who's done this at the highest level at the on the circuit. And I just absolutely love that UConn could have absolutely gone and just gotten the guys who might be more talented, might be more athletic, might be better rated, but they looked and saw, okay, we need guys that can make shots off movement. Who is the best movement shooter? They went and found him. And I love that. Is he the most athletic? Does he have a lot of juice dribbling the ball? Was some of the defense rough? Yeah, maybe. But ultimately, UConn is we are going to be the team that runs the best offense running guys off screens. Who is the best off-screen shooter we can find? They went and got him. I love that. That seems almost like old school recruiting to me, in a way, where it's, as much as people talk about fit all the time, every single coach you talk to will say, oh, it's about fit. We don't look at rankings, we don't look at hype, we don't care where they played. It's about, but then they don't, you look at what they do and they don't practice what they preach. I think UConn practiced what they preach. They got a guy who looks perfect for their offensive system, and I just love that. I think it's a lot of fun.
And imagine how hard it will be for defenses to worry about him running off screens. Oh, and Solo Ball, who made, I think, 93s last year. Oh, and Alex Caravan, who's won 2 national championships. Oh, and Silas Demery, who can really make shots too. That's a scary proposition. They're going to be a impossible guard. I don't know if we have the tracking data for this yet in college basketball, but amount of miles run per game against UConn, just watching these guys run in circles around each other, shooting, running off screens, trying to defend, that would be a fun stat for me to find. Speaking of system fits, I absolutely loved the marriage between Houston and Isiah Harwell. Isiah Harwell is someone that was talked about in the same breath as the Darren Petersons and AJ DeBances and Cam Boozers at one point in his high school career. Then he tore his ACL midway through his junior year, missed that whole junior summer, came back midway through last year, which was great to see. And by all accounts, seems to have kind of hit the ground running. But he's a big scoring guard and someone that can absolutely go hunt shots. Going into an offense at Houston that lets your guys do that, but also wants guys who are big time shooters. And I really think Isiah Harwell has a chance, especially in a system that will force him to continue to get tougher, continue to understand what it takes every single play to win at a championship level. I loved this marriage when it happened, especially because I really felt like Isiah was really turning a corner right when he tore his ACL. And it was really unfortunate that happened. And now that he's healthy again, the opportunity to go to a incredible coaching staff at Houston, I'm really excited to see.
This is another guy that I just look at him and I think about polish. The way that he plays is very efficient with his movements. It's going in a straight line. It's not there, gets cut off, one counter, that's it. You're either making the first move or it's a counter in the paint, get under control, make the right play. it's just, I don't know if it's because last week we watched all these guys that took 100 dribbles. This just seems so refreshing to me. But he is just this very north-south player that is going to translate a lot more to the college game. You'd see his ability to make shots, big old skip, find the ball, find the seams, put it up, score. So for his ability also to be someone who's really, really good off the catch, really, really lethal as an offensive player playing off the ball, that's also very refreshing. Also really big. And that's kind of what Houston really could have used last year. Obviously, they were within a whisper of winning the championship, but it does seem like they could use just a little bit more offensive juice. And I feel like he brings it. Now, starting with some of these clips here, this is the one question I have for you, Kevin. I mean, just because you talked about the ACL injury, I'm just going to be honest. When I first saw this physical guy, saw some of his offensive highlights, started looking to his offensive film, and I was like, man, I love this guy. I bet he's going to guard like a demon. That was not the case. He really did struggle defensively, particularly coming back from a big injury. But I just, I wonder, what was his reputation as a defender prior to the injury? Like, is this the injury that's allowing guys to just get by him at will? And then, of course, the question is like, well, if he's not able to guard at an elite level, how much does he see just even guarding at a average level get him on the floor at Houston for a team that's number one in every predictive metric that's been released. That's kind of the question for me. But that is the one thing, one kind of interesting thing. If you think about a Houston guy, you're probably like, oh, I bet he's elite defensively, and like maybe he's got some questions offensively. With Harwell, absolutely loved everything I saw on the offensive end. Defensively, just didn't look like he was 100% there.
Yeah, a little worried about that. I do think he was always someone that was maybe a little bit more like smooth and fluid than like very athletic. And I think that meant that sometimes like he was a little upright defensively. He was someone that you could get by because he didn't have like elite foot speed. But especially coming off of an injury, I think that's certainly understandable. I did have to watch that clip back because I was pretty sure the reason I drew that back was I was pretty sure the first clip you showed was him getting cooked by Noah George, who I think is just like a miserable player. Like he has like, there are very few like high school players that I don't like. Noah George, like, oh man, like this guy is like, I saw he had like real offers at one point. I was like, what am I missing? There is a reason why he has those offers, and I will happily fill anyone in via DM if they care to find out. But yeah, they're very good. So the fact that Noah George was cooking him off the bounce may be a little concerning to me, but yeah, offensively, big time. And I was at the tournament right before he tore his ACL. I think it was that weekend. I think I was there like the first day, and I was with Jeremy Woo, who's ESPN's NBA Draft Insider, and we were just like, man, like he's got a chance to be very much in this same conversation as some of these elite guys, and just never got a chance to prove it because of the injury. And so excited to see what he does at Houston. And a system, again, you're losing LJ Cryer. They need the offensive juice, and he has a chance to provide that. Any other thoughts on Harwell before we get to our final two clips?
No, I think we can move on.
All right. This is the one that I don't know if we disagree on, but we see some, you saw maybe a little bit different on the film than I did. I like Nik Khamenia. He's someone that he's off to Duke. He's gotten a reputation as being this sort of like big jumbo wing with feel that can play in any context, that adds value in every situation. I think it's sometimes you watch him, you're like, the talent is not elite. And I think you watch him sometimes and, he did not have a great U19. That was like a sort of momentum stopper for him after being really, really good for, becoming like a Duke level recruit really over the final summer of his AAU season, AAU career. And so he's an important piece for Duke because they definitely need guys who don't need the ball, who can add value in a lot of ways, who can be sort of that Swiss Army knife. But I'm curious to see how you break his game down, because I think he's someone that will be very important if Duke is going to reach their ceiling.
Yeah, like everyone's telling me big wing, big guard. And then I watch all his games and it's just like posting up at the front of the rim, bouncing the ball on the block, which again is okay. Don't get me wrong. I think, again, to me, it's just a bit of a fit thing where you start to think, so there he gives up the ball. And then what's his first move is like, oh, I'm not going to respace. I'm going to hold my position on the block. And he can score on the block, and that's great. But I think about what's going to translate to the highest level of the sport and what's going to be best for what Duke needs. And I'm just not sure he's the best one for it. And it's just like looking at the straight synergy play type data, watching the film again, it's just like he turns drives into post ups, he turns cuts into post ups, and I just wonder exactly what he is as a player. Now, I do really like his ability to shoot the ball. You saw him used again coming off screens. Like I said, it's not a lot of high school guys that really shoot the ball well off screens, and I do really like that number of ways he was able to be utilized, and nice footwork to get into his shot quickly. That's the stuff that I really like on the positive end. But when it comes to him dribbling the ball, man, every dribble is slower than the last one. Like, he's clearly not particularly comfortable handling. Whereas he gets down the lane, you can again see every single dribble gets slower and higher, and he's just, settles for the pull-up, doesn't get to the rim, doesn't create a lot of separation, a lot of bounces to not create a lot of space. And maybe I just need to get the fact that he's going to Duke just out of my head, the recruiting ranking out of my head, and just say like, okay, if this is a high major basketball player, what do you think? But I don't know. It's just one of those things that if someone was just woken up from a coma and said, okay, there's a top 25 kid going to Duke, and I showed him that, they'd be like, huh, like that's just, I don't think anyone would be particular, super impressed. But he's definitely the guy I spent the most time watching and just trying to see what it is. And I just wonder if I would have been a lot more intrigued if he was going to like Virginia Tech as a projected multi-year guy. But between going to Duke and the recruiting ranking, I just like, this is kind of like an undersized stretch four who loves to post up was a lot of what I was seeing. I know a lot of people that have seen him more though than I have much different opinions, such as yourself. But I don't want to sound, talking about like, I don't want to say like I don't think he's a bad player. That's for sure. It's just as I think about how Duke's going to play this year, I don't know how much I think he's going to factor in.
So what I think is interesting about what you just said there, how Duke's going to play, right? Like, is he someone that we trust to play as a wing? Because he probably has to be if he's a pro, right? Like, if he's an NBA player, he's a quote unquote big wing. And all right, like, Cam Boozer's the 4. Like, there's no room at the 4. They got Cam Boozer. He's pretty darn good. And they got 2 fives they really like, in Malik Brown and Patton Gongba, right? So it's not like they're going to be itching to slide Boozer to the 5. Not to mention that's probably the worst thing for his NBA development, right? Like, if Cam wants to be the number 1 pick, he needs to play the 4. So all of a sudden for Nik, it's like, all right, you got to prove you're a 3, but you also have Dame Sarr and Isaiah Evans. Like, I'm very curious to see how the hierarchy plays out, because I do think the shell of his game, right? Like, feel for the game, shot 44% from 3 at the U19 World Cup. Like, he can obviously make shots. The kind of do everything Swiss Army knife type makes sense for this Duke roster, but if he's a 4, it gets really dicey in a hurry.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to watch. And just do they even going back to our previous video from last week talking about, does Duke have the ball handlers, the creators that they kind of need? I mean, I look at Kinemena and I don't know if he answers any of those questions either, and is another guy who is probably, well, I would say at his best, coming off some of those like trail screens and getting his feet set and shooting the 3. I don't know how much I want him posting up at the front of the rim, especially if Boozer is also on the floor with him, and all that becomes really interesting. But I'd be happy to be proved wrong that he is more of a perimeter player, better, a little bit more skilled than I thought. But from what I saw, he becomes a very interesting player for me for that reason.
The last guy on our list is also headed to the state of North Carolina, and his name is Matthew Abel. I watched Matt Abel last summer, and every year at these events, there's one guy that comes in without a ton of attention. And when you say a ton of attention, usually means like they have like great mid-major offers and like a couple of highs, and like then they all blow up. Like the days of this guy is really being recruited by no one, and all of a sudden he's being recruited by Duke. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, let's just be realistic here. But Matt Abel was like a low high major recruit walking into Rock Hill in the summer of 2024. And he had one of those games where he made every shot. You're like, man, this guy's pretty good. And you just start texting around the gym like, hey, like, have you watched Matt Abel before? Like, is this what it is? And everyone's like, yeah, I always thought he was pretty good. You're like, all right, so like, what are we missing here? And then the rest of the weekend, he just kept killing and killing and killing. And all of a sudden, you look up at the end of the weekend, and he has just about every offer in the country. He commits to Miami. Miami has a coaching change. Now he's going to NC State with Will Wade. Things have only seemed to improve since heading to the Pac. He was a standout at some of the summer camp circuits. I know the Formula Zero in Arizona is a big deal. He was very good there. A lot of people have had a lot of positive things to say about Matt Abel. And I know Will Wade was very effusive in his praise of him at ACC Media Day. And he's someone that, like, stylistically is very much like what the NBA is looking for, right? Big positional size, shooting, ability to play off the ball, like very, very polished. Just, again, you're watching him and like, how was this guy ever not like a very high level recruit? And someone's going to have to fill in the gaps on that story for me, because I truly do not get it.
Well, again, he doesn't have that take 17 dribbles and go into a step back or spin. Everything with him is like so decisive. Catches the ball in the corner. He knows I have one read. It is attacking this closeout and getting downhill. There, he looks for his shot first. He knows, if I get taken away on the closeout because he closes out to my right hand, I'm driving left to the middle of the floor. Like, this is a mature game, and someone who everything he does looks so transferable to what college basketball, what high-level basketball looks like. It is playing off the catch. It is playing through the closeout. Like, everything I watch with him is like so transferable, and he obviously shoots the ball well enough that he can draw some of those closeout situations, but he just seems to understand, I'm getting the ball swung to me. Where's the defender coming from? What is my read? I'm going to look for the shot first. If it's not there, I'm going to read the closeout and attack and get downhill. And you see, too, the way that he makes his teammates better. Like, just his decisions here of when to swing the ball. You just don't see that from so many top players. Like, you watch this and his ability to play a smart kind of style of play. I talk so often with coaches. Every coach wants high basketball IQ. Everyone talks about they want high basketball IQ players. And if you actually talk to them and say, okay, well, how do you know if a player is high IQ? A lot of guys really struggle to answer. One of the things that I think that I'm looking for when I'm really trying to see, is a player high basketball IQ? Do I like their IQ? I just want to know their shot, swing, or stampede decision. When the ball gets moved to them, how quickly do they make a decision? And is it the right decision of to shoot the ball, to immediately drive the ball or stampede, or to swing the ball? And watching a lot of these guys, there's not a lot of good decisions there to be made. It is not quick. You watch Matt Abel, and that is someone whose decision-making when it comes to that shot, stampede, swing, like, he makes the decision quickly. He makes the right decision. And everything he does just looks so much more transferable to me than so many of these guys that are recruited higher than him, rated higher than him. Obviously, he landed at it. I don't want to, cry this guy's being under recruited, because obviously he ended up and ultimately landing at a great spot and getting a lot of offers, like you mentioned. But it's just I like absolutely love Matt Abel from what I was just seeing here. And I think everything he does is going to be really transferable to the college game, and he ends up being someone who a lot of fans know about quickly.
Yeah, from what I've been told, there is a very real world where Matt Abel is a one and done. That is the type of attention he's getting. I think he will. Again, he's one of those guys that you have to see how it starts. They have enough talent where they're not going to necessarily have to rely on him to do it all right away. But he's one of those guys that if he has a couple of big games early on, NBA teams are going to be investing a lot of time very quickly in getting to know who Matt Abel is, because he's certainly on the radar, and he's someone that I really believe has a bright future ahead of him. So he's a great get for Will Wade. They have a great talented group around him. Darian Williams, obviously, Trey Holloman, Terrence Arsenault, but do not sleep on Matthew Abel. This is a fun episode, Fawcett. I really enjoyed going through some of these guys. We could do it for, again, sorry if we didn't get to your guy, because truly we could have done this for like 6 weeks, but fortunately we have real basketball starting soon. College games. I did check some box scores from exhibitions this week. It was fantastic. Sending off those texts to people you haven't texted in like 6 months. Hey man, you get the box from random mid-major game. Yeah, I'm not tweeting it. I just want to know. I was jonesing, man. It's tough. Everybody needs it. Our College Hoops Fix coming soon enough, and the place for your 365-day College Hoops Fix is Basket Under Review. The shows, the podcasts, the video, the written content, and of course the Discord community. So much fun. Such a great group of people talking about the game, thinking about the game. They make me smarter every day. If they can do that, they can make you smarter. Appreciate you all joining us. We will see you all next week.